And welcome to Conservatives Talk.
And I'm madder than hell. And because we just got out of district convention and we need to talk to you about a couple things. And we're going to have Representative Mike Cameron on to help us have this conversation.
You done it now. And welcome to Conservatives Talk. My name is Justin.
And this is Jamie.
And as always, we like to make sure that we remind our viewers to make sure they are hitting the like button as well as the share button on any of the content that they come across on any of our platforms. So say if you're overlords, we also encourage you to hit the subscribe button as well. That way we can reach out to you and inform you of what you are supposed to be doing at every moment in your life, in every facet that you do anything, and that you only have one source of information, that is us. We also demand that you go to our website at conservativestalk.org and give us your money, because dictatorships are not cheap. They are expensive to run, and Jamie and I only deserve the best of lifestyles.
Y'all, Justin he comes off the coast. So, I have no idea what we're saying. This is why my reactions are this way.
So, Jamie, with that in mind, would you like to give us your first reminder?
Boycott hometown headlines. The guy's a narcissist. And if you hadn't seen, he's actually going to be going to where he belongs with the Democratic Party. So this is not journalism. This is pure socialism at its finest. They're controlling your media, boycott hometown headlines, and really give Drunken Miller the bird.
You mean that it really is nothing more than a liberal rag, just like we've been saying?
Literally. I mean, they even put it out there. Join fellow Democrats as we hear from Drunken Miller as our guest speaker. It's liberal media, and we need it out of Northwest Georgia, and it starts with you boycotting hometown headlines.
So some organizations that we do not like you to boycott, we actually encourage you to visit and potentially patronize them. The first one being Net News Network. So make sure you are looking for Net News Network at netnewsnetwork.net. It is your number one compilation, your number one compilation of grassroots newscasters. So make sure you are looking for Net News Network at netnewsnetwork.net. We also want to say a quick thank you to Veterans for America First, the premier America First organization, and they only push their America First policies and agenda through their media arm, and that one being Vet Voice. So make sure you are looking for Vet Voice on every major social media platform. So, Jamie, with that in mind, let's jump right into it.
Let's bring in our guests. And like we said before, we got Representative Mike Cameron up here from Rossville. And Mike, join us.
Hey
can
there.
You hear us, sir?
I can hear you loud and clear. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Justin.
We're doing good.
If I were any better, I don't know if anybody would even want to put up with me.
Amen.
Well, thanks for coming on, Mike.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been all over North Georgia tonight, so I get to sit in one place for a while.
And knowing you, that is a rarity. Yep. So the reason why we wanted to invite you to come on to our show for this today is we know that there has been a kind of a growing let's call it almost kind of a factionalism or a warring factioning.
Yeah.
Or a warring factionalism that's going on within not just the district, but the state or the state, but the nation in of itself, especially within the Republican Party. And what we saw this past weekend in some of the conventions, it was a prime example of a lot of that.
I would agree. I wasn't there that long, but yeah.
Well, in all honesty, with what had happened, I can't say they're blaming. Mm-hmm. I am of the mindset that what was done incorrectly. It should not have been done that way. And I will be very blunt and very honest with this. I do believe that, again, that it was set up to where this could go through without anyone taking a second notice of what was going on with it or how it was done. And we as a district were not fully cognizant of what was actually taking place.
So let's talk to our viewers about what we're talking about at the moment, because there's one resolution that happened in particular that upset me enough to walk out. And I think it should upset our people because we elect our elected officials to do the best of their ability of a job, and to stand against them in any measure really is kind of counterintuitive. So the resolution that we're referring to was a resolution basically trying to, condemn or censor our elected officials who voted for HB 520, and Mike's name's on this list. We kind of want to talk to Mike about what that bill was actually about.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into that, I do want to say just one thing, just kind of push back a little bit on that. We, or at least in my thoughts and opinions of this, I think that we still should be able to speak out against representatives or speak to representatives, give them our opinions on what we believe they should
fully
be able to
agree,
do.
but advocate beforehand.
Yes, beforehand, not reprimand afterwards, and not allowing them to
or
even
know what the
where
bill is
we
actually about.
stand.
And that's why I want to hear from Mike what the bill is actually about.
Yeah, it was a follow-up to last year's bill, which was House Bill 1013. And this bill, what we're trying to do is get our hands around mental health in Georgia, because we don't want to just throw a bunch of money out like traditionally people have done. We need to find out the parameters. What do we need in Georgia? Where do we need it? How do we need it? And what kind of funding do we need for it? And that was the general idea behind this bill, and in its essence. And where it got off on all this other stuff is just I don't know. And you were talking about people talking to representatives. I'm about as available as you can get. I mean, I'm up on the 5th floor of the club. The chairman of the 14th district works on the 3rd floor. Most of the rest of the guys are on 5 or on 6. Steve Tarbin's up on 6 with Jason Ridley, some of them. I talk to everybody. I mean, I talk to the janitor, the guy that shines the shoes is a buddy of mine. I mean, I talk to everybody in the Capitol, and I'm available, and I'll talk to anybody if they agree, disagree. I had one person talk about this bill, and he was in District 2, and I said, "What are your objections to the bill?" He said, "Well, it's a bad bill." I'm like, "Okay, what lines are you talking about in the bill that you object to?" "Well, I don't know. I don't have a copy of it. I got something from the Madison Forum and the Tea Party saying this is a bad bill." I said, "Well, give me the line items, give me the lines, and let me read it with you and go over it." I'm glad to do that. I do that all hours of day and night. I get calls, emails. So I never got anything. So we ran into this person that morning, and Steve Tarbin talked to them because they were in his district, and it still didn't get anywhere. It's a bad bill. So I had an inkling Friday night there was something coming. I didn't know what it was. But when we sat down Saturday morning, somebody brought by a copy of the resolutions because they didn't have very many copies of the resolutions. And I thought that was odd. They weren't in the packets. So I saw my name and I said, "Steve, we need to read this." So we read the bill. Steve said, I'm not staying. And I said, "Steve, if you're not going to stay, I'm not going to stay." Because the one thing I didn't want to do there was cause a ruckus, because we had a lot of new people there. And I didn't want to cause a ruckus. I wasn't being a coward by walking out. I was saying, let's be adults, let's quietly walk out and not cause a problem, let them go on with this. And that's what we did. So in essence, we still, almost no one's talked about the bill. And we have such a problem with mental health in Georgia and in this country. I work a lot with the sheriffs, and in Dade County especially, they're full of mentally ill people, and we don't know where to put them. And we have to go to Rome, and there are only 17 beds for 30 northern Georgia counties, mental health beds. And so you got to get your person triaged. And I've done that a number of times, trying to get someone into a bed to get them out of the jail. And it's rough. And it's rough on the jailers. It's rough on the other prisoners. And so we know we have a problem, but how do we get our arms around it? That's what we're trying to do with this bill. Get our arms around this and figure out what we need to do and how we need to do it and where do we need to fund it. Not just throw money down a rabbit hole, because that's not responsible.
Yes, and I've read the bill. I've read the bill multiple times. I don't really see it. And again, just like you said, this bill was to essentially create a lot of studies and to really define a lot of parameters of exactly how we can better create a mental health system here in the state of Georgia. It was not in any way a bill that would establish any sort of mental health treatment or treatment protocols or anything along that line. It was to create the study so we could then take it to the next level to where we can understand what issues and things that need to be addressed and how it needs to be done.
And one thing that we have to really go back to getting our arms around, and similar, like exactly what you were saying, is you got to have the data before you can go out and address what mental health is. And it's unfair to our sheriffs, our jailers, unfair to the citizens of all of our counties that their loved ones have to go to jail in order to seek help. But we have to be able to have the data that supports that before we can just go out and start trying to create facilities. And I think that's what happened. What started to fail with the last system, there was no way to kind of get a way around all of the different types of mental illness and things of that nature that were going on. So the facilities closed because they were ineffective. And so now we got to get the data so that we can, like Justin was saying, take it to the next level. And bills like this are what starts that process.
Yes, and I will say whoever wrote this bill did so in a way that it's not dishonest or it's not 100% factually incorrect. It is written in a way that there is a little truth behind it, but only enough truth to where they could then throw in kind of
the resolution.
Yes. Excuse me, not the bill. This resolution. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
The resolution is written in a way that it is so misleading because of little bits of truth that are sprinkled in there that then go on to use hot button words, hot button topics that are used to inflame a lot of passion. So this right here was written in a way to where it would have passed within our district, being one of the most conservative districts in the entire country. It's written in a way that there's no way that it would not have passed. But it is so untrue that if the people here actually knew how much of a lie that this bill was.
It's resolution.
Excuse me. Again, sorry. I'm a little bit upset about this.
Yeah.
In reading this, especially reading the bill, there is so much misinformation and just flat out lies that are in this resolution that it makes me upset that it came out of the resolutions committee and came before the district because it was so misleading. And
it could have been stopped. Yes. It could have been stopped.
It could have been, yes.
Let's say, they talk about we favor transgenderism. Well, if memory serves me, about a month and a half ago, I voted to keep parents from doing anything to their children under 18. So why? And I have a history of marching in Washington in the March for Life and doing those kind of things. Why in the world would I vote for something that's we're going to kill babies? And number two, a bill that's going to allow transgenderism. I mean, that is silly. I mean, the day that we passed the transgender bill, I got threats on my phone. My admin got threats. Other legislators got threats. And I was glad I almost broke the green button, hitting it with my fist because I was tired of this. So we're not going to go. And this was in my campaign last year. My opponent last year, you're an abortionist. You're in favor of transgender this and transgender that. Well, we had something called an election last year, and the people were either going to believe me when I told them what this bill actually 1013 was, or they're not going to believe me. And 77% of the people in Walker and 74% of the people in the independent state today, they believe me. And
I like how he worded that. The independent state today.
Independent state today. I love them. I grew up right above there, so when I went down there, they remembered me. So I'm not going to cheat the people in my district because my district's probably one of the most conservative districts this side of Mississippi or anywhere else. Yeah. And they're smart people, and I'm out, I'm in grocery stores, I'm in restaurants, I'm everywhere, and people stop me. I was in Chattanooga the other day at Trader Joe's in the parking lot, and I heard, "Hey, Representative Cameron," and it was a lady, and she knew who I was and wanted to talk to me. I talk to everybody. I mean, it's just, and for them not to come to us before this bill. Mm-hmm. While we were adjudicating it and writing and working through this bill in the caucus, no one came. They didn't come. They don't, we have people, Jeff Breedlove, I don't know if you know Jeff, and Kim Jones from NAMI. Both of them are at the Capitol every day, and they'll talk to people. And Todd Jones, the author, the main sponsor of this bill, Todd will talk to anybody. He didn't talk to me. And I mean, it's like we're there because this isn't about us. It's about you. It's about our constituents and doing right by our constituents. And I'll talk to, they're welcome. People call me, my number, I think my number's at Buc-ee's. I mean, I get them from all over. I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything, anytime. I'm glad to. If I don't have the answer, I'll go get the answer. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was just going to say for them to pull this, and we get this on Saturday morning, and our chairman already knew this was coming. Why don't you pick up the phone and say, hey, there's a resolution, and then you're not going to like it, and here it is. So when you walk in the door, here it is. We heard none of that. We walked in cold to a room, and we're expecting, hey, we're welcome. I'm glad you're here. And by the way, we're going to slap your hands today.
And here's the hard part for me, because we've already had a problem with making sure that we get people out to get involved and do the grassroots part of the party. And the reality is that less than 2% of the people will spend their Saturday at a district convention like we do.
Yeah.
So we're not even a good representation of the electorate.
Yeah.
So when we ask for our representatives to be a part of the party, to join us, to help us fight for these fights, but then we do things like this, it's hard for a representative or someone who is in the trenches with the representatives to try to, balance the two. Because in the back of your mind, you know and realize, like you said, 77% of the county is still voting for you, whether or not they come to convention or not.
Yeah.
Or whether or not they read nonsense like this that was passed as a resolution.
Yeah, and I made an effort this year because the Walker GOP campaigned against me last year. Okay, they campaigned against me. There's several of them that were prominent that were campaigning, and I made nice this year. I got a call from someone. And they said, "Could you bring coffee?" So I went to Starbucks and bought 4 of those big honking things of coffee. I went to Costco, bought 2 big things of yogurt. They wanted yogurt. And Steve Tarvin brought a fruit plate, and we brought all kinds of stuff. We're trying to make nice and be good people with the party, and then they turn around and do this, and it's like, what do you do? I mean, you keep getting your face slapped, and thank you, I'll take more. Not. So that's why we turned around and just walked out, and we did it quietly. We didn't draw attention to ourselves. And as soon as I left, I went to Lafayette to a farmer's market and went through the farmer's market shaking people's hands before I went to Dade County to do another event. I mean, you just dust it off and go on, but we've got to pull together as a party. We've got to pull together, and even if we disagree on things, we've got to get going down, because next year, there are going to be people supporting former President Trump. They're going to be supporting Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley. We did that in 2016. I think I originally supported Ben Carson, but as soon as it looked like that Donald Trump was going to be our nominee, let's get behind our nominee and push them. And that's what I've done.
Yes. I believe that this is going to be a much more complicated year or election season, just because of the fact of all of the factionalism that is embedded within the party and coming around with this. And I really like one of the things that you were saying there, in the fact that getting or speaking with your representatives is by far and large the best way of actually effectually changing positions within pieces of legislation, or at least allowing them to know where the constituents stand. So one of the things that, and this is just me kind of brainstorming with some of this, and particularly how we can have the party move forward with the legislators that the party is there to help represent and help to promote and help to get these policy things enacted. What would you think of, say, kind of a representative or kind of a committee from the district or from the counties that you represent, from the congressional district or anything along that line, coming together and then kind of being almost kind of a polling group or a testing group, not specifically linked to the party, but more
like a focus group.
Yes, more or less, but still have the links to the party. That way they could then come back. You can kind of, or they can come up with things that they think about pieces of legislation and then move forward with it. So it's
like a focus group for bills that are coming through.
Yes.
And then that way, our representatives have an idea of what their constituents are looking for.
And not just that, but also it's a way for the party to then have a functioning role within all of that as well.
So we don't have garbage like resolutions like
yes, this come out. Exactly. We don't have pieces
I'm
of.
I'm all for.
Yeah.
I take text on the floor. I'll get texts like from a DA or judge or some person in a certain industry saying, "Hey, sheriff's association or something on a bill," and it would be good to have people like that because they may see something I don't see or Steve sees. And we've asked, these folks, if you see something in this bill, show us where it's at. Show us where transgender is at. Show us what was the infanta something or other, that big word.
What is
Walker County?
It's where is it? It is the abortifantacist.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, that is a medication. I believe that's medication like the Meferdol that will endorse abortions.
Yeah, and last year we had a bill on sine die, Bruce Thompson's bill before he ran for labor. It was going to keep young people from being able to buy that over the internet and buy it by mail. And I got calls from people, "Oh, you're promoting abortion." Some of these same people, you're promoting abortion. And part of that bill was you're going to have to go to the doctor's office to get that medicine, but you're going to have an ultrasound, and you're going to have to look at the ultrasound before you do that. Because I've been involved with the group before when I was a elder in the Lutheran Church. There is a abortion pill reversal.org or .com, one of them. There's a treatment with an old-fashioned hormone that you can take. If you take the abortion pill, if you get it quick enough, you can reverse that pill. And we've saved thousands of babies like that. Wow. And so I understand this, but they were like, "You're promoting the abortion pill." No, we're not. We're trying to restrict it. And that's what Bruce was trying to do. Commissioner Thompson was trying to do. We were trying to restrict it and keep people from getting it over, because young people could go order it online and have it delivered to their house, and they shouldn't be able to do that.
No, by placing barriers in the way, you're essentially lessening the chance that that's actually going to happen.
Well, you're doing what parents need you to do, and that's add parental controls. I mean, Comcast allows for them to have parental controls on what kids watch. Same thing with YouTube and everything else. Why wouldn't we want legislation that could stop, kids from making a mistake that can affect them, another life, and everything else?
Yeah, because I don't do this job for me. I'm 63 years old. I've spent 32 years in the health insurance industry. I do this because I love my community. I live in a great place, and the people in Walker have been good to me. The people in Dade, I have a passport. I can get in Dade after they lock down every night. I mean, I can, and this is like family to me. This is like family. That going out with Marjorie and talking to people, it's like family. And I know a lot of these people, and I know more because I'll sit down in a restaurant at a counter, and people come up and say, "Hey, can I talk to you about something?" Well, sure. Or I need help with something. And I enjoy cutting red tape for people. They'll call my office, and they tell me that I'm not a lot of representatives do what I do, but I'll answer my own phone, and I answer all my own email. And somebody says, "Hey, I've never talked to a representative before." I say, "Well, you're talking to one now. What you need?" And they'll say, "I'm trying to get something for my mother-in-law, energy assistance." I said, "We got a contact for that." And my admin Latricia will call, and we'll work it out. And we work those things out, and I make sure they're worked out, and I get notification when they are. But we do this stuff all the time. We're customer service, and I've got to give good customer service to people in my district, and that's what I'm about. And so talking to folks is paramount for me to know what's going on. And people see things that I don't see in a bill, maybe, and they go, "Oh, I didn't think about something so and so," or "I didn't see that." And I like doing that because we go through a lot of bills.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they saw that the principles of due process would be violated by allowing the detainment up to 90 days of those who are awaiting mental health competency testing. Now, therefore, I'm trying to find out where that would be, because it says specifically in the bill that after 7 days, any sort of any sort of holding or against your will holding, we'll call it that, is expired, or the judge's order 7 days after the execution of that detention takes place. It expires. It goes away. It says that in the bill.
This was a hit piece on our local elected officials, and it's ridiculous that this is how we are choosing to operate, because again, the masses elected all of you to do the great job that you're doing, and you're continuing to fight for Georgians, especially Northwest Georgians. And I feel that everyone on this list is carrying our values. And so that's why it's disheartening to see stuff like this.
Yeah, and I'm running again.
There's one or two that I see.
This is not going to deter me.
No, I wouldn't expect that it would, in all honesty. Y'all have been doing a great job. Y'all done really well. Y'all have gotten through y'all have gotten through legislation that, quite frankly, the state needed, that you received death threats for. I know personally, in speaking with several of these representatives, not just for bills this past year, but bills in the past, that y'all have received threats from not only against your own personal lives, but you've received national threats. You've received threats from the president. You've received threats from major, we'll call them major public figures. So the fact that y'all stand up even against such tremendous odds really goes strongly in y'all's favor.
Well, we're family, and even though we disagree sometimes on bills, I had a chance to rip one of my colleagues on a bill of his that I disagreed with. A media in Chattanooga called me, and I went and told him. He said, "Go ahead, it'll help you politically." I said, "I'm not. You're part of my family. We disagree on this bill. I'm not going to Chattanooga and rip you in the media to score political points. That's just not what I do." And people want people that are likable. They want people who will work with them and talk with them. I put my britches on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And I get out there Saturday morning. I'm going to hand out food at the American Legion in Fort Oglethorpe. I'll be at the bike run down in Lafayette for the Honeybee Festival Saturday morning. I go to these places and help people, and whatever I do. And a lot of things I do, I don't post. Now I post a lot of stuff because I'm a lot of places, but this is about being a servant and about helping people. Yep. There's a lot of older people who need help. And, I use the Northwest agency, Northwest Georgia agency. They're down in Rome, agency for aging and disability. I use them a lot because we have a lot of seniors that can't make rent, or they can't, they have a hard time with food, especially like veterans. And I'm all about making sure our veterans have something to eat and people have a roof over their head. And like I say, I've never been a big government person, not at all. But there's a role sometimes. You're not giving people handouts; you're giving people a hand to get them over the hump. And so,
yeah, and to that point, on here, it's talking about how the principles of limited government, that y'all violated that through this bill by the expansion of Medicaid through that. And I will say, I had my parents not really worked as hard as they did and gotten their family to be able to provide for them the way they were. If they weren't done that, I would have been a beneficiary of that expansion, just because of the fact I was 18 as a senior in high school. So if you are under the age, or if you're 18 and under, by the time I graduated from high school, I was almost 19, because I was held back a year because I started school earlier than what 90% of the other kids started. So I would have potentially had to drop out of high school, get a job in order to just be able to receive some of the benefits that would have been entitled through me.
Well, and like, let's be honest, we are making a large comeback in industry in Northwest Georgia, and we need this extra assistance for things to help people get a hand up so that we can continue to grow and thrive. Like, Northwest Georgia used to be. This used to be one of the most powerful and wealthiest places in the country, and we're on our way back to that. But we have to look at what's out there. And I think our representatives are giving us all the tools that we need if people would stop mix matching the message, and we were able to get out the clear message of what's available for people to help get out of their feet. We need better education up here. We need better assistance with healthcare. We need people to be healthy. We need to help our elders. And all these things are available. We just have to listen to our representatives and to show that these things are here for us.
Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing I think maybe they're talking about, there's a program called TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And what we did, Georgia was the only state in America that didn't provide food stamps for low-income pregnant women. You got some girl, 17, 18, 19 years old, that's pregnant, and maybe she's trying to work at Wendy's or someplace, and she's trying, but she didn't have enough food. You know, I'm pro-life. I want the mother to have food, but I also want that baby inside her to have food. You know, I want them to have nourishment while she's pregnant. It's what it says. It's temporary assistance for needy families. It's not like we're going to do this forever. Yeah, I know some people. I know the welfare train. I know how this has worked over the last 50 years, but we're trying to help people. We're trying to give them a hand. There's a program in Dade County that most people don't know about. It's called Hand Up Ministry. I was over there last Saturday night. Mark Rick, the former coach of Georgia, was there. And what this thing does is they get people out of jails. They get them off drugs. One girl says she'd been on heroin 27 years. Okay. She's now a counselor in the jail. But what they do, they get these people off drugs. They get them straightened out and they get them jobs. One guy, we had a business expansion in Trenton Pressing. They make parts for BMWs. And we had, they're building a 105,000 square foot expansion and going to put $10 million into it, plus $5 million for equipment. Well, there's a big old guy. He came up to me, he says, "Mister, I saw you at the ribbon cutting and I said, "Yeah." And he got up and said, I blew through one family. I almost lost the second one. And this program got me off drugs and I got a good paying job and I can provide for my family now. That's what I try to do, is help businesses and people, put them together. I try to connect people. It's like with tonight, I was at the food bank and they're in Dalton. They're building a huge expansion. And I've connected them with people in Dalton, trying to get them enough money to finish this building, the coolers, so they can give out food to the people in all these Northwest Georgia counties that need food. That's what I'm trying to do. Match these people together. And they help me at the American Legion because we give food to veterans. A lot of Vietnam veterans that I grew up with, they won't ask. But if you say, "Hey, come by and get food," they'll come by and get a carload of food. And that's what we're trying to do. I don't want anybody doing without, because I remember growing up that by the grace of God go I. And this is what I want to try to stop, you know.
I can completely understand that. This resolution is so just it's
over
wrong.
the top. Yeah.
It's misrepresentative. It's a flat out lie in most parts of it.
Yeah.
It's so everything against what we are supposed to be as Republicans. In all honesty, it kind of goes against a lot of those principles with that.
Yeah, we've got to straighten this out. We've got to come together. You know, I'm not going to go to the state convention because of this. Because here we go. I go to the state convention. God knows what they're going to do at the state convention. You know, it could. We need someone to lead the party at the state level who's going to stand up and say enough. Get all the parties in the room and say, you're going to work together. We have to work together to survive, because the Democrats are working together, whether they like each other or not. In that chamber, I see it every day. They'll vote. Like I had a labor bill and they voted for it in committee. They got out on the floor. Every one of them vote, they get the signal, and every one of them votes against it. They stay together no matter what. And we've got to tone down these egos. And we got to sit and we've got to understand that we're fighting for survival of this country and of our area. I tell people, we're the last great bastion of conservatism in Northwest Georgia.
Yeah, in all honesty, North Georgia really is.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why I do this, you know, because 15, 20 years from now, they may not remember my name, but maybe I can do something to stem the tide of this stuff. And maybe help us get back on the road. I want you're both young, you know, and I'm getting older, and I want you to have the same opportunities or better than what I've had. And I've had some great opportunities. I want you to be able to grow up and do things, and you get my age, maybe you guys will be in the house. And learn how much fun it is. But I love it. I mean, I love being in the House, and I love the people I'm working with, and we try to do what's right for the people. We make decisions for 10.5 million people. It's not like making decisions for chickens in Northwest Georgia. I mean, this kind of thing. But we make
That's
decisions.
That's a sore topic.
Sore spot.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I'll send you ghost chickens in the sky sometimes. It's a great Leroy Troy from the Marty Stewart Show. But we make decisions for 10.5 million people, probably close to 11 now, and those are not easy decisions. And we're reading bills, and I carry stuff home. You can check the number of times I go out in session, maybe 3 or 4 times a month. I take these things home. I read them. I get online and read them and fall asleep, and try to read as much as I can to know what I'm getting into, and go to as many meetings. You know, I'm on 6 committees now. I'm on appropriations now. So we're going through all this stuff. How do we appropriate this money and be fair? I work with Representative Dempsey. I'm on her committee, her subcommittee, and we've got to figure out where we put this money to be responsible. And it's hard. Let's make make a lot of hard decisions. And I'm not griping about that. I relish doing that, but sometimes you make the right decision. Sometimes, you know, I voted for the truck weight bill once, and then the last bill I voted against it because it was a bad bill. But you try your best to do the right thing. And
I mean, that's what the voters and the people of this area put their faith in you to go and do.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess
y'all done a great job. I mean, is there anything else that we can do, or we can have our viewers do, to kind of help support your efforts? I know you're everywhere, and trying to be inside the community.
Yeah, trying to be inside the community. But I think we just got to come together and understand that these party meetings that we got to educate ourselves. A lot of people that go to parties, the party meetings now, are newer, and they don't know a lot about the processes. I saw a lot of new faces, and I think we need to educate our people better about what the processes are and what we do. And I'm glad to always talk to people and tell them this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is how. I one night on Judy's show, I go to Judy's show on Thursday nights right from the house usually, and drive without eating supper, and drive up there and do the 10 o'clock hour. And one night I explained, here's what we do every morning, the whole process. You know, it's not just, hey, here's a bill, hit the button. You know, you got to read and understand what the bill actually does.
Well, let's be honest. You would be kind of in the minority in actually going through a lot of the processes when it comes to reading and expanding upon a lot of that. Yeah. So I actually have kind of a thought or a scenario involving this. Okay. And bear with me now on this. If what is in this resolution is actual, if it was actually true, would it have been fair for it to come out, or would it have been a right process to come out, not this convention cycle, but perhaps next convention cycle, if the convention had first passed a resolution saying that they did not agree with the bill altogether?
I understand the question.
So if everything that they are suggesting in this resolution was true, if it was true, which we know it's not, say they passed a resolution rather than this, not condemning the legislators, condemning the legislation, expressing the convention's displeasure with the with the bill itself. Then if the legislators, knowing that the convention, knowing that the body was opposed to that, then still went ahead and voted yes for it, then next year for the convention cycle, this resolution come forward, effectively letting them know ahead of time that the convention does not agree with this. Thinks that I understand. Yeah, I know you're working a couple of things.
So you're basically asking, like, what if the conversation was had beforehand?
Exactly. Would it have been fair for something like this to come forward had you been notified ahead of time that essentially people were not happy with some of this?
I think it's fair, but one thing that I would probably ask them is, give us some things that you think are wrong with the bill, and we'll go back and fix it. Mm-hmm. Because that's what Steve Tarver's mantra is. If you'll show us what you think's wrong, we'll go back to Todd Jones and Mary Margaret Oliver and say, hey, look, our constituents are concerned about A, B, C, and D. What can we do to allay their fears?
Mm-hmm.
Or bring them down to Capitol, bring people down to Capitol, bring a small group to Capitol and sit in a room and say, okay, express why you don't like this. And let's see what we can do to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that irritates me the most about this whole resolution, to be honest with you, is if I see a piece of legislation that I don't like, Katie, Chuck, Jeff, when he was still there, I'll email them. You know what I mean? I'll email them, I'll call them, I'll text them, like, hey, one of the big things I was a big proponent against was build rent. Everyone who represented me in any form or shape, fashion got a message from me about my reasons why I was not in support of build rent. Yeah. I think the thing that kills me the most is that we're great at yelling on the internet and being keyboard warriors, but no one's putting anything to action.
Especially in those echo chambers.
And if you really disagree with something, contact your representative and actually advocate for something, not just put words on a piece of paper or send out hate mail.
And I'll even put an even finer point on that. You said sending out, you sent them a message or sent them an email. It wasn't that you had an organization that sent you an email saying, if you disagree with these hot topic issues, hit this button, email your state representative to vote against this. It wasn't a form email that you then got in return. Yeah. What he's talking about is he individualized and personalized these emails. Exactly. It was not something that you receive 1,000 of in a single session. Yeah. That look the exact same.
Well, it's like the COVID vaccine. I got one time. I guess this is my all-time greatest email. Some guy was warning me that the COVID vaccine had Canadian vampire blood in it.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know. I just didn't know. But, I try to respond. I get a lot of people that'll say, please don't make vaccines mandatory or things. And I try to put some little snippet and answer them back as quick as I can, because I get good volume of email, and do that and let people know that, hey, you actually got a live person and he actually responded. Because I go to meetings sometimes. I went to a school board meeting one night, and there's a bunch of people from Fairland Elementary up there with Clay Fuller, Liz, and our district attorney, Fuller, now. But these people said, you actually answered an email. I'm like, yeah, what was I supposed to do? I mean, I can't get everyone every time, but I get as many as I can on a day, and I'll go back and do some more. But that's what we're there for. Because a lot of times people have good ideas about things, and I've got bills hanging up for the next. The district attorney had a bill that we're going to change the incest law and include stepchildren. And I got it all the way through every committee and got it on the floor of the Senate, and then ran out of time on signing die. And I've got other things like that. But I listen to people. People call me with an idea or something for a bill, and I look at, see what we can do, and work on it. Because a lot of times you get good ideas from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Well, all right.
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, we sincerely appreciate you coming on and speaking with us about this.
Well, I appreciate y'all taking the time, because this has just been surreal. This is just not the way we do things.
Yeah.
The way this transpired, it's not the way we do things. And if we don't fix this, I mean, our voting is down in 14th district, and we got to get our vote back up. Let's come together and work together. We're not the enemy. We've got a bunch of people in Washington trying to kill this country. I mean, we got gasoline prices, food prices, all this stuff. I mean, and then we got the Chinese and the Russians. We got a bill in the Ag Committee to try to keep the People's Republic of China from buying farmland.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah,
yesterday I was at a realtors thing, and they misrepresented that bill, and I went up and enlightened that young lady from the realtors group about, that's not what that bill's about. This is what this bill's about. If we lose our farmland, we lose our food. That's a national security issue.
Yep.
And we need to fight that. And also, they want to make the mental health bill about, we're going to take away your guns. I I got a nice closet in here full, and they're not going to take my guns, and they're sure as hell not going to take yours.
Yeah.
We're going to stand up.
Again, I would love to know where that is that bill.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't read it. They didn't call the representatives. They just took an email from somebody and said, "This is the truth."
Yeah.
And that email probably asked them for some money afterwards.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That we just need to come together, folks, and I'm all for whatever we need to do, and we need to sit down. And if we lose control of the House and Senate, a lot of things that people want in this state are going bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and this money we're giving back to you in income tax rebates and the property tax rebate, you would never see that. It'd be spent on a social program of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That wouldn't be good.
Or sent to bureaucrats like Jamie. Yeah. Spent somewhere.
Any bureaucrat.
I work for a local government. I build roads. He just gives me a hard time.
So
I work a lot with GDOT because we have a lot of mountain roads up here, and I had a 18-wheel truck cab in a tree one time, and I had to climb down and show the engineers at GDOT that they knocked down not only the barrier on 136, but the tree, the cab is up in the tree. And they went, Grant down at GDOT in Cartersville goes, "Oh my, oh my."
Yeah, we're in the same district, so I know the same folks. And I tell you what, District 6 probably one of the best districts in the whole GDOT system, because they're just like us, and they get it.
So please give him money. Is what he's trying to say with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I climbed down there one morning and made pictures and avoided getting hit, and sent the pictures back, and they were like, "Oh."
Yeah. We had a little bit of situation, and so I called down there, and they were like, "What'd you say happened?" They said, "We'll see you tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh man, is that bad? You guys are just gonna come up here?
Exactly.
You guys see it in person?"
Yeah, they about faint. Yeah.
That was
when Grant goes, "Oh my," we got a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was probably one of those hold my beer, watch this moments.
Literally.
Yeah. But I appreciate y'all, and you let me do this, and
absolutely.
Hopefully I hadn't talked too much, and
no,
I try to listen, and we want to do right. All our representatives, we want to do right. We don't want to sit down there and do wrong by y'all ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always available to talk. I get calls at 10 o'clock at night sometimes, or people want somebody to talk to, and so I'm there, and I'm gonna do that in the morning after I get off the radio in Trenton. I'm going to talk to some folks, and this is what we do.
Well, again, we want to say thank you.
Thank you.
We would encourage you to attend the state convention. I say that just because of the fact, by doing that, we are essentially trying our best to move forward with this. You will have every bit of support behind us with a lot of this, because again, as we've said, this whole thing is just farce.
Yeah.
But
we would if more things like this show.
Yeah, I just want to get to the bottom of it and find out who actually wrote this and what they're doing. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The whole process doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But again, thank you, sir.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I'm going to see if I'm drafted in the NFL tonight. And
yeah. We got to get back to the show.
Best of luck.
Rich Eisen said I would go in the third round to New England as a water boy. So I still have some Gatorade left in me. So maybe I'll make it. But thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for the patriotic stand y'all take and all you do down there. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. Well, again, thank you, and we'll see you here soon.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
So like I said, I was madder than hell, and I'm glad that Mike was able to come on and kind of explain the bill and see where we are. And again, this all really boils down to stop reading emails from random people and call your representative. It's real simple. Call your representative, get active. Don't just sit there and be a keyboard warrior. Don't just follow like sheep. Actually get out there and learn about what's going on and how to be effective.
Your representatives are there to talk to you. They will talk to you. Believe me, before I even got involved in the whole political organizations and everything along that line, I could call any politician, especially our local ones, and get a response from them.
that's how I got involved. For those of you who haven't been able to hear my story, I got involved because I was in charge of setting up the see you at the poll fellow Christians of Fellowship of Christians Athletes, FCA. There we go. Finally got it out. I was in charge of setting up see you at the poll for FCA at my school, and I called my representatives for my school district, who now happen to be still a member of the House and a congressman. So they're going to talk to you. They want to be involved. They want to be active, but it's upon you to reach out and find out what's actually going on. These people who are sending you emails asking you for money and trying to, get you to join their organization are defrauding you. And that's just the bottom line. They're defrauding you.
So with that in mind, we also, if you're still wanting to be one of our viewers, we like to encourage all of our subjects to go and make sure you are hitting the like button and the share button on any of our productions that you do see anywhere that we do release them, as well as making sure that you are hitting the subscribe button, because if you do not, you will be flogged in the public square. We also encourage, / demand that you go to our website at conservativestalk.org and again, give us your money. Jamie needs new shoes. The ones that he has are getting a little dilapidated. We just bought them 2 days ago.
Yeah,
so
my boots are
they
worn
need to be re-upped.
My boots are worn out and I don't wear socks.
Your money. Exactly. We also want to say a quick thank you to our affiliates in our First and Bend Net News Network. So make sure you are going to Net News Network at netnewsnetwork.net. We also want to say a quick thank you to Veterans for America First, and you can find them at vfaf.org. We also want to say a quick thank you to their media arm, and that being Vet Voice. So you make sure you are looking for Vet Voice on every major social media platform. So, Jamie, as always, would you care to grace us with your final thought?
Get active. Stop. Again, I'm going to repeat the same message that we've been doing this entire time. Resolutions like the one that was passed at the 14th district mean nothing. Because the reality is you would know what was in that bill and you would have been more effective inside of it if you had actually reached out to your representatives. We have to do a better job of actually getting involved with our representatives instead of fighting them. So again, I say, stop being keyboard warriors. Stop going to the internet and being persuaded by narcissists. Reach out to your representatives, get active, get involved with the party, and you have another opportunity to do that. And with that opportunity, we have a state convention coming up. You can come in and be a guest if you're not a delegate or alternate. If you're a delegate or alternate, please join us. We're going to be voting on some very high inspirational things. And if you want to run for office anywhere in the state of Georgia or anywhere in the country, please give us a call. We can connect you with the right people.
Yeah, if you have continued to watch our productions and really follow along what Jamie and I are doing, the number one thing that we have always advocated for from the beginning is involvement, is participation. And these conventions would have been a great opportunity for anyone that had any sort of concerns, questions, doubts, anything along that line, to go and actually speak to their representative about this, because they were at every one of these.
Yep.
And just for that, so, I'm going to pull after Jamie's little sermon there, I am going to pull a Pelosi and just,
because it's garbage.
Well, with that, this is Conservatives Talk, and